Welcome to another episode of There's a Lesson Here Somewhere, where we dive into TV shows and films that are published on Tubi. We'll explore the good, the bad, and find all the lessons in between. I'm your host, Manji, and for today's episode, we're going to be covering the animation Big Bruh. Now, if you missed the previous episode, please be sure to check it out. We covered the sci fi film The Pod Generation and found all the lessons in that film. So let's go ahead and dive into Big Bruh. Now, once again, it is an animation, and I believe it's produced by Killer Mike. This animation was full of a lot of lessons. Like, I'm not honestly not a huge animation film, but I appreciated this one. And it's only an hour long, so you can knock it out in no time. So if you haven't seen Big Bruh, feel free to give this podcast a pause. Go ahead and check it out, then come join us to dive into the lessons, or you can hear the lessons and see if this is a animation for you. So this story starts off with Money Montez, who is a boxer, one of the champs in this animation, and immediately we are introduced to Granny, who raised him and constantly remind him that feelings don't pay the bills. She also says things like love is the currency for poor people. And yeah, Granny had me doing a lot of reflecting, but Money Montez, he is going up against the Bone Crusher, who's his opponent and who is the current reigning champ. So Montez's whole focus is becoming the true champ. And in order to become that, he has to beat the Bone Crusher. So now here is the fight between Money Montez and the Bone Crusher. The Bone Crusher reminds Money Montez that a true champ is measured by the things you do when the world isn't watching. But Montez wasn't really trying to hear that. And basically, the Bone Crusher forfeit the fight by basically tapping out, essentially. And he said that he would give Money Montez a rematch only if he can prove that he is a good person. So now Money Montez, he's like, am I not a good person? So he's doing some self-reflecting and he asks his friends who, it's obvious that they aren't truly his friends, but they're because, they're getting paid to be. And of course, they are yes men because in order to get paid, you need to say yes to this man. And so they were like, yeah, yeah, you're a good person. Like, you take care of me. Like, you gave me this accounting job and I ain't got no experience and blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, Granny is still in his ear, like,
It's a cold world, money. And if you want to survive, then you got to be the coldest. I'm talking Nino Brown, Scarface, Leah Michelle. These people don't love you. They love what you have to offer.
so now Montez is scrolling through Bone Crusher's Instagram page and he sees that he is a part of like this Big Bruh program. So he's like, yo, if I win a trophy for this program to become Big Bruh of the Month, then that'll prove that I'm a good person. And then he will have to give me a rematch so I can prove that I am the true champ. So Money Montez, he goes to the Big Bruh program to sign up, and just his entrance alone definitely shows some of his character, and he's definitely self-absorbed. So he goes in there and he essentially just tries to buy the trophy, but the dude who is like running the establishment, he's like, you can buy your way into the program, but you can't buy this trophy. In order to win this trophy and become Big Bro of the Month, you're gonna have to make this little girl happy in 2 days. So he was assigned Nikki, and he had 2 days to make her happy because there were only 2 days left in the month. So now we are introduced to Nikki, and I relate to Nikki a lot. And Nikki is just like a little black girl who is very opinionated, and I feel like that's just the best way to describe her. So she's coming off as like a negative Nancy because she's also just very progressive and cares a lot about her people in general, and just like community. So she just cares about the world a little bit too much. And so, since she's always highlighting the things that could improve in the world, she is coming off as a negative Nancy. And off top, she wasn't even trying to have Montez become her big bro because she's like, yo, every person you bring me, every big bro you bring me, do not take this seriously. And in order for us to make change in this world, I need a big bro who's serious. And the dude who's running the big bro place was just like, just do it. Nikki, she was just like, no, like that's selfish. And he said, sometimes being selfish, sometimes you have to be selfish in order to be happy. So that was an interesting take. And you can definitely that could definitely be a lesson to some sort of extent. As long as your selfishness isn't harming another person, then I feel like it is fine. But I low key agree with this. Like, we definitely need to be selfish because just as women, we are, taught to overgive when we have nothing to give. So if we, are a little bit selfish, we will make sure that we are okay first before we give. So that's the type of selfish that I support. But in response to that, little Nikki was like, but if I stop caring, then who else will? And that's real shit too. Like, we have to figure out a balance. Like, I don't know, like this film, this little animation had me so conflicted because I agreed with both sides. And let's just finish going over it. But I really did enjoy this. But yeah. So Montez tried to get like a little photo op with Nikki, and that's when she learned that Montez is actually famous. So she's like, you know what? I could use his platform to change the world. And so now she agrees to do the Big Bro program with the Money Montez. So now we're introduced to Lil Darius, who's like a young child, and he goes to Granny's boxing gym. And his voice is just the cutest. But he goes there because he wants to learn how to box or just fight in general because he wants to beat up his mom's boyfriend because his mom's boyfriend is abusive. Granny, this whole scenario is very familiar for Granny because low key, this is exactly what happened to Money Montez. So, Granny, she said something insulting about the mother to see if it could trigger Darius, and it did. So, if you say something that's super offensive that get him triggered and going, he just starts swinging. So she just seen him as money, and she was like, "This is the next Money Montez." Like, just walked in my gym, money bag. So now Nikki and Montez, they are hanging out for the day. They go to his car, and she wasn't trying to ride up in that car because it's polluting the air, but she ends up doing it because she has to focus on the main goal, which is changing the world through Money Montez influence through his platform. And so she meets his friends and informs Montez that those aren't his friends, and you got to choose them or her. So he ends up choosing Nikki, of course, because he wants the trophy so he can become the true champ. And then we enter the other scene in which we kind of get a taste of Montez's character again, in which, like, he's so rich and I guess above the poor that he literally just can't see them. And so he was like standing on poor people and he literally just couldn't see them. So Nikki, of course, is like, what the fuck? So Nikki made Montez give the homeless people money, in which they ran up into like this knife shop, got some knives, and like went to go murder this lady. And Nikki was like, "Oh yeah, they're doing a good deed. Like she was a capitalist anyway." This animation, it was dropping a lot of gems. Definitely have you reflecting a lot, but it was also entertaining and funny. So that's why it was easy to digest all these little lessons. So the adventure for the day was going to Princess Palace, I believe, like the theme park was called, and which Money Montez he rented out the entire park for the day, so him and Nikki can just basically take in all the happiness that the park has to offer, I believe was Money Montez said. Now we back in the boxing ring with Granny and Darius, in which Granny educates Darius on basically how to utilize his trauma to his advantage. And she basically told him like that trauma can make you a lot of money, but it can also ruin you if you don't use it correctly. So Granny was dropping a lot of knowledge, but you can tell it was all like definitely coming from a hurt place. Like, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. So she again tells him, like, in order to be successful, you're going to have to cut off feelings and basically just not feel ever again. So then she triggers him again and he just loses it. But this time he couldn't just shut it off. So he goes outside and he just swinging, swinging, swinging. Of course, his animation, so crazy shit happened in which like the whole police force pulls up in like point 0.2 seconds and they ended up beating fucking little baby Darius ass out front. So Granny, she started, of course, recording and she put it out on the internet for money. Like she said, I did what anybody else would do. But yeah, so then that happened, which sparked Black Lives Matter protests. Yeah, it was like almost immediate. Them protests was outside. So Nikki and Montez, they're bonding, having a nice little big bro, little system moment. And Nikki is actually she's saying like this is like her first time, I guess, like feeling what it's like to have a friend just because so many of the other kids feels like she's so negative, so don't nobody really like bother her. So she's really like appreciative of this little moment with Montez, and which like he ended up giving her a nickname which made her even more excited to be around and to have a new friend. And so Nikki's new nickname is Happy. So Happy and Money, they are eventually pulled over by the police. And Nikki, she's super woke. Is like I guess is the best term to describe this little girl. And so she's like, "Yo, drive off! Like they gonna kill us." And Manny Montez, he lives a whole different experience because he's rich and famous. So the cops are his friends, and he's like, "What are you talking about? Like the cops, they're good people. Like they do what they have to do. Like it's not all cops." And just saying all that terrible jargon. And Nikki was not going for it. She was just like, "You're a disgrace to your community." So now we're at the point where Montez, he really wanted to, of course, make Nikki happy so he can get the trophy, so he can become the true champ and have a rematch with the Bone Crusher. So Nikki, she's like, "Okay, in order for us to be good again, there's one thing that you can do." Actually, Money Montez was like, "I'll do anything." So she was like, "I'm going to have you in police brutality." Now, this was very conflicting for Money Montez because, again, he's rich and famous and he loves the police. They are basically his biggest supporters and the main people putting money in his pocket because his sponsors support the police. And so basically, they don't want him getting political at all. So now, since, there were Black Lives Matter protests, of course, that sparked some All Lives Matter protests. And we have both of these sides outside protesting in front of Granny's boxing ring because that's where the little thing happened with the police and Darius. They are basically getting into a brawl, the Black Lives Matter and the All Lives Matter crowd. And so Nikki is trying to have Montez save the day, in which she basically gives him a little lesson in real time. And she informs him that, sometimes you have to make sacrifices in order to make the world a better place. And she had this little Barbie doll, Melissa, who was essentially her best friend. And so she led by example and she offered up Melissa to the All Lives Matter crowd so they can all like basically just be happy and get along. But then I guess one of the guys in the All Lives Matter crowd, he like started sharing his feelings. And then Nikki was like, "Quit making this about you." So since she said that, that like triggered anger in this All Lives Matter dude, and he ended up ripping Melissa's head off and just throwing the doll to the side. So of course, Nikki is heartbroken. Like that was her bestie. And then Money Montez, of course, he has her back. It ends up like I think he beats up the dude or something. So now this triggers like not even a SWAT team. Like this animation took the police force to a whole new level. They had like some big ass like robot like on some transformer shit in the city going to this protest to get it under control. So they didn't realize it was Money Montez down there because they just see him as another Negro. And so they just started shooting from up top because it's again like a big ass police tron. After Darius got beat the fuck up by the police, he didn't remember anything. Like I guess when he goes into these little trances and like starts swinging, he blacks out, so he don't really remember. So he wakes up and there's like all this protest outside, and he's just like, "What's going on?" And eventually the news, showed the clip that Granny uploaded online, which sparked the Black Lives Matter protests and everything. So then he eventually learns that all of that was for him. And that was just so cute when he was just like, "Yes, we're going to get justice."
All these people came out for me. Oh, I hope we get some justice.
He is just so cute. He's probably like my favorite little person on this in this animation. And the reason why I do like Darius is because Darius and Nikki, and I feel like this is a lesson.
Message.
And that's the importance of teaching our children critical thinking. Like we know that they have thrown out critical thinking and teaching it to the younger generations some time ago. And I feel like this film or this animation definitely reflects what independent thinking can do for children. Like, they'll be able to not be as is easily manipulated as some. So Darius is one of those. And he started putting two and two together and he's like, "Hold up, Granny, you profit off of the bad things that happen to people." And then Granny, she's like, still saying some real shit, but it's also again coming from a hurt place. And Granny was like, basically, "I'm a black lesbian in America. I've been wrong my whole damn life." Basically, it's business. So uh Darius still wasn't fucking with it because his heart is pure. He's still at that age where, he still moved with love before the world taints him. So hopefully this situation won't taint him too much. And he's still able to see the beauty in things. But I say all that to say he wasn't fucking with it, and so he left. So now we go back to the war that's essentially going on between the police and Black Lives Matter protesters. Nikki already put Money Montez up as like a martyr. So she's like, "You're about to die a hero." And Money Montez is like, "What? Like, I am not trying to die." So the little robot thing got him, and they realized it was Money Montez, and they like, "Wait, hold up! Like, I thought you was on our side." So now he's like, debating like, should I just go and be with them so I can continue this great partnership that's been going on, or should I listen to Nikki and actually stand up for something? He listened to Nikki and was like, "No, fuck the police," basically. So they was like, "All right, we about to eat you." And Bone Crusher, his opponent, whom he's trying to have a rematch with, actually comes and saves him and ends up saving the day. So after that happened, they end up having some sort of like ceremony thing in which Money Montez, need to go up there and speak on it. And Nikki wanted him to essentially speak out against the police and police brutality. And so now he's really conflicted because now he's on a stage with cameras. And if he says these things, then that's definitely going to ruin all his sponsorships. It's going to ruin his bag and it's going to completely change his life. So, with all that pressure, Montez, he obviously fumbled and he ended up switching, reneging, if you will, and started supporting the police officers. So he was like, the police wouldn't do what they do if you people would just listen. Also, Money Montez, who was obviously a Negro, he's one of those people, when you get a lot of money, you're not black. He not black. He Money Montez. So he's also has that mindset where he separated himself from his community. So after that, all like it was just pandemonium after that. And so there's fighting and ruckus. People, of course, are breaking into stores, looting, in which Nikki walks up upon a Melissa store, which is the Barbie doll that she had, but got decapitated because from the dude from the All Lives Matter protest. And so she was just like, nobody else cared. Why should I? And just when she was about to go into that store and probably take her a dollar or two, Woke Panther came up and basically stopped her. So Woke Panther came and like I guess saved the day again after the chaos ensued after Money Montez's speech. And so we learned the person who is Woke Panther, they named him Carlin. His name was Carlin Staplesack, and he's like a biracial black man, and he had the fro. He's obviously a play on Colin Kaepernick. Nikki was under the impression that Carlin Naplesack that he sacrificed football in order to make change in the world. And once she met him and had like a conversation with him, she realized that that wasn't the case. He was trying to stand up for something, but at this point he's just trying to play ball again. So in this animation, instead of kneeling for um what is it, the pledge or whatever, he pisses on the field. So he was going to do it again in hopes that it will somehow get him back on the field playing football. So now Nikki is kind of like disgusted by him because he's just like, lame ass nigga, you can't stand for nothing. What Lex BB said, like, you not no leader, bruh. So she was looking at him just disgusted, like, So Carlin Naplesack, he ends up taking off his woke panther costume, which would have, protected his identity because he was a wanted man on the field. And he ends up going out there to, I guess, stick to his plan, which wasn't successful at all. They ended up tackling him, and Money Montez actually comes and saves the day. So now Nikki's off for Money Montez again. I forgot to mention that she low key ditched him to go with the Wook Panther because she thought Wook Panther was about it. And when she learned that he wasn't, and now Money Montez looked like he about it, she's like, friend. And he like, oh, So we get back to Darius, in which literally the exact same thing that happened to Money Montez is happening to Darius. So it's another day where his father is beating on his parent, and I definitely don't support. I definitely don't support domestic violence, but I hate that I chuckled because he was like, like the mom gave him a non-alcoholic beer or beverage, and he was like, "What? Non-alcoholic? You think I got a problem, bitch?" I think it's the delivery. It's not funny at all.
Non-alcoholic. Did you think I got a problem?
But anyway, so of course Darius, he is triggered and he had enough of seeing his mom being abused. So he stood up for her and he beat the fuck up out his dad. And which the mom, of course, she's delusional in a whole nother world. And what happened to Money Montez is that same exact thing. His mom was being abused by his father. He stood up for the mom, and the mom put the son out. So I say all that to say Darius' mom put him out. He ends up like in line for the orphanage, and then that's when Granny comes and picks him up. And we learn that Granny is actually Darius's grandma. So him and Money Montez are brothers, actually. So now that Money Montez, I think he like slammed a police officer or something on the football field. So that's basically how he saved Carlin's Maple sack. And so now it's this new company that wants him to be the face of Black Lives Matter for the company. But Nikki was like, no, if you do that, if you sign up to be the face of this company for Black Lives Matter, then you won't have any control and they will basically dictate your every move moving forward. So Money Montez, he listens to Nikki and turns down the offer. So now we get to the big bruh ceremony in which we learn that Money Montez did in fact win Big Brother of or Big Bruh of the month. And once he learned that, it was like a switch. Like this, it's like all the progress he just made in these 2 days, just like we just threw it out because he just went back to wanting to rematch the Bone Crusher, who really is about this life. Like he really is about giving to the community and doing all this. So he's taking his time with his little kid or his little brother seriously. But Money Montez wasn't stopping, and he's just like, I need a rematch. I need a rematch. I need a rematch. And so Bone Crusher, he was with his little brother. So because he's a part of the program and he's like assigned a kid. So this kid basically told Money Montez, like, you just mad because you're not the true champ. And that triggered Money Montez. And you could tell when they get triggered with him and Darius because their eyes turn red and it's just like tunnel vision. So he's about to get ready to swing on this kid, but the Bone Crusher steps in and he's like, "Please stop! Like, I only did all this, like, saying you're not a good person and starting this challenge because I was actually scared to fight you. Like, I knew you would win, and I just didn't want to do it." So now Money Montez is gloating, like he loves this information. Nikki's the only witness here, and she's also just like changing her opinion on Money Montez because this new version that she's seeing, she is not liking because he is obviously a terrible person. And he basically started taunting the Bone Crusher and just dancing around and just being happy that he, I guess, essentially is the true champ. But like I said, Nikki was disgusted, so she leaves. Of course, the Bone Crusher leaves with his little brother. So now Money Montez is here celebrating this victory to him all alone. So it's like, yeah, you're the true champ, but like at what cost? So after this, it looks like Money Montez is low key depressed, a little bit sad. He ends up entertaining the idea of quitting boxing, and of course, Granny wasn't going for it. Like, you ain't about to stop that bag. So after Granny gives her spill again, reminding Money Montez just how like feelings are important, and you have to like not have feelings and focus on the bag because getting the money is gonna give you a happy life. Darius, our little critical thinking king, he steps in and he's like,
I know that we're new brothers and all, but can I say something? Of course, little man. Granny is a sad old lady who's afraid to show love. She's the reason Mom was sad and mad all the time, not us. Don't let Granny get in your
So
head.
Granny trying to figure out how to basically get Money Montez some more money and get him out this funk. So she's like, "Yo, who's seen the Bone Crusher crying and shit?" And Money Montez was like, "Nikki was the only witness." So she was like, "Okay, well, let's get Nikki on board and we'll have her as the witness and we'll expose the Bone Crusher or whatever." So basically, Money Montez, of course, goes to Nikki and try to be friends again. Nikki wasn't going for it. So Granny had to step in. And Granny, again, she's saying a lot of real shit, but you just have to take it with a grain of salt. Like that it and okay, let me finish this before we get into that. So basically Granny steps in and she's like, yo, like I see you trying to change the world. What you gonna do? Change the world from the bottom? Granny's spitting some real shit. And then she was also just, reminding little Nikki, like, you can't get to the top by yourself, which I definitely agree with. Like, you don't need some sort of support. And so she's, I guess, offering an olive branch to have her part of the Money Montez crew. Granny asks Nikki an important question. And she's like, do you want to be you or do you want to be happy? So now Nikki is reflecting and Nikki's like, I can change Money Montez or whatever. So Nikki, Granny was reminded Nikki that sometimes you do need to basically be a little bit selfish and get something out of these ordeals in life. And so Nikki, I guess, is kind of translating that to something that would benefit her. So she's like, I can change Money Montez or whatever. So that thought alone is what got her on board. So now she's a part of the crew. She's hanging out with Darius, Granny, and Money Montez. And even right now, like at the end of the film, like they're all walking into the sun, and Money Montez is just happy because he's surrounded by community. He has family and love essentially, but Granny hates when he used that L word. So, yeah, and that's the end of this animation. Now, let's get into the lessons. Again, like I said earlier, like this animation was really conflicting for me because it's like I agree with both sides. Like I agree with almost everything that Granny is saying, but I also agree with Baby Nikki. And just with like my life experiences, especially like within these past like 3 to 5 years, I've been really like this just been at the forefront of my thoughts in terms of like who I want to be in this world and the things that I prioritize in this world and the things that I desire to have in this lifetime. And when you reflect on things like that and just the state of the world and how society moves, you have to consider a lot of things. Like you have to consider the shit that Granny is saying, but deciding on the person you want to be, you have to consider the things that Nikki are saying. And that's what I mean when I said I related to Nikki. Because right now, I'm like in the middle where it's like, again, I get both sides and I am willing to, again, kind of what Nikki was preaching, and that's essentially sacrificing something in order to reach a balance where you have a nice money flow and you can consider yourself successful while still having a community of friends and actually being able to enjoy life. I honestly still think that's possible, even though we're told time and time again that it's not. We see a whole bunch of rich people who are like sad in the when they're alone and things like that, and that comes out when they off themselves. Like we think these people are just happy and enjoying life because they have all these material things, but then they have that disconnect when it comes to love and community. And me personally, I feel like that is what makes life fun and lit, and that's having the community, connecting with other people. To me, that's more important to money to some extent. So if you do have that mindset, then you have to understand that since that money isn't a priority, you will be lacking in some areas of life because that's just how society is currently. So if you listen to Granny and turn off your feelings and just focus on the money, you definitely will have a higher chance of receiving or achieving to get said money. However, since you turned off those feelings and everything, you're going to be unable to connect and to develop those nurturing relationships that's going to be feeding you later on in life. So that's what I mean. Whereas, like, one, you can decide if you choose to live that way and you love money that much that you don't care for community or love outside of the love you have for money, then it's your world. Do what you need to do in order to achieve it. But if you're more on the Nikki side and you want to value community and connections with people, and if that is solely your forefront without even considering, like, surviving when it comes to having a nice income and just a nice amount of money, then you will lack in some areas when it comes to living the type of life that you decide, just because you won't have the necessary funds to support any type of lifestyle because your whole sole focus was on building community and relationships. So that's where I'd say I personally think it's still possible, and to just have a balance of both, to be able to still build a community and have loving, supporting relationships as well as be content. So I guess that's where you would have to decide, like, what does financial stability look like for you? Like, how much money do you feel like you would need in order to be content so you can still focus on um developing relationships and family and all that, like, so yeah, I guess like the lesson here is a bit mixed depending on who you are and where you are in life. So Granny was dropping a lot of gems. So if your whole focus is on that, then that's you. Nikki was dropping a lot of gems. But if you take a grain of salt from all the gems that they are dropping, you'll find a nice little balance in the middle. My personal opinion. And those are the things that I prioritize in life. Like, we need a nice balance because I also want to live and enjoy life and be able to do what I want to do, but I also like having people around, connecting in community, because at the end of the day, that is what's going to get us further than any money, any paper that any paper can do in this entire world. Like the things that we need in order to survive is already here on earth. So if we have community to utilize these things, we can definitely go further and essentially be a lot happier than we are now. But I'm gonna stop there. I truly enjoyed this film, and if you enjoyed the film and this podcast, please be sure to like, subscribe, share this episode with a friend. Next week, we are going to be diving into, it's like a psychological thriller. It's called Soulmates, and of course, it's available for free on Tubi. So I see y'all next week.